Hi guys, this is Q of Cars, I am Mike, and today I am in Malaysia, in Penang, the island of Penang, in the heart of the historic city center, the UNESCO World Heritage Site. This here is the Chair Kongsi Temple. I'm not sure if I have pronounced that correctly, but that's one of the most interesting, most famous sites to visit, and I have the great privilege to park here on that site. Well, what's the reason for this video? I have decided to make a really big road tour with my 280 TE station wagon from my home in the island of Phuket to Malaysia, to Penang. That's about 500 miles one way, and now I am about halfway of my journey. The first part I will show you in a minute, and we had a little bit of difficulties. I mean, the car broke down once, no, it broke down twice. We have some other problems. I will show you all of that in detail. I will show you the way that we went, that is from Phuket to Krabi to the island of Koh Lanta, and then crossing the border, which is another hassle because you need a lot of paperwork. It's not just like crossing the border in Europe. You need insurance and whatever stuff. I will show you all of that later. After Penang, we will then go back to Thailand, not the Andaman coast side, which we went down, but the side of the Gulf of Thailand. That's then Hat Yai, Songkhla, Nakhon, Thammarat, and then we will go back to Phuket. Let's see if we have any more problems with our old bands, but so far it was really a great epic journey. We saw a lot of interesting sights, and if you're interested, just stay tuned and watch this video. One week earlier, it was time to load the car and get started. At this point, I still thought that the Benz was well prepared for the adventure. No, to be honest, even now I still think it was. This is now day one of our journey, 0 kilometers done. We will start on our first stage, that will be from Phuket to Ao Nang in Krabi. And yeah, let's see what the journey brings. Well, maybe you have seen my earlier videos, so you know what kind of work went into the Benz already. Of course, I didn't expect that nothing goes wrong with a 40-year-old car on a 2000 kilometer journey, but I secretly hoped that any major issues may only strike us in Thailand, not Malaysia, as we don't speak any word of Malay. Phuket is an island, but it's connected to mainland with a bridge, so we first had to cross the 660 meter long Saracen Bridge to Phang province. This area is famous for its scenic limestone formations, which are covered with tropical vegetation. Unfortunately, troubles haunted us much earlier than expected. These screeching noises soon got worse. We still made it to our destination of stage 1 in Ao Nang, Krabi, but it was obvious that we had to sort the problem with the squeaky belt of our alternator before we could continue our journey. For the record, this was fault number 1. Instead of deflecting the mechanic's attention away from his work, we concentrated on our touristic program, for which the Benz was useless anyway. We are boarding now to go to Railay Beach in Krabi. Railay Beach can only be reached seaborne from Ao Nang. It's a 15-minute ride with a long-tail boat, which costs 100 baht or $3 one way, and it's absolutely worth it. The landscape is breathtaking. So this is the famous Railay Beach in Krabi. But we were not alone on the beach, just lucky that I have a weird passion for reptiles like this water monitor. By the next morning the Benz was repaired and sounded again like a 280 TE should sound. The repair bill was only 100 baht or $3. In fact, the problem was limited to a bolt of the alternator which got slightly loose. First, we tested the Benz on the streets of Krabi town, where we not only checked out the popular crab sculpture, crab with a B like Bravo please, I'm not talking about a crappy sculpture. But later we accidentally came across a much more interesting sculpture, maybe the coolest traffic lights in the history of motoring. After this sightseeing stuff, it was time to hit the road again and drive to our next destination, the island of Koh Lanta. In this case, there is no bridge, so we boarded a ferry. It's just a very short ride of 15 minutes and it's just 100 baht for the car and 10 baht per person, so we paid less than $4 in total. From the pier it was then just a short ride to our Airbnb apartment. That was enough for this day. Exploring the island was on the schedule for the following day. Not sure if the bands got seasick from the ferry ride. Fact is, dramatic melody was going to foil our plans in the next morning.
Well, that does not look good now, because I can step in the brake pedal and it just moves in without any real resistance. So I think we have a major problem with our brakes. Well, I think I can already see the problem. We have a leak in the brake fluid system on the front wheel, and that's really shit. How could that happen? What can we do now? I think the only thing we can do is, I have seen a repair shop which is just about 1 kilometer from here. I think we can go there without brakes, just go very slowly, it should be possible. And yeah, let's hope they can fix that. I don't see any other chance. Yeah, let's do that.
Fault number 2 for the records. It was quite a weird feeling to drive without brakes and probably totally illegal as well. Nevertheless, we arrived at the repair shop without further damages and they immediately started to work. It didn't take long time to find the culprit, a defect brake piston. Overhauling the brakes took several hours and we wanted to use the time better, not just annoying the mechanics with my camera. So we decided to follow our island sightseeing plans and rented scooters to substitute the checked up beds. Koh Lanta has some amazing beaches. Some of them are so empty that you can nearly get a Robinson Crusoe feeling.
That's one of the really nice beaches here in Koh Lanta.
It's called Bamboo Bay. And it was time to wash off the dust and sweat in the sea. I know, you would prefer Halle Berry emerging from the ocean, sorry to disappoint here. Thinking of Halle Berry and James Bond, there was something else that I was really looking forward to now. My sunset mojito. Cheers! The next morning the Benz was ready for the road again, or better say ready for the smoking ferry to leave Koh Lanta and go to Trang. We paid 1,200 baht or $40 for the repair and hoped that the pace of new bugs popping up would eventually slow down. We didn't expect much from the city of Trang, but surprisingly it has a special charm. Well, there are great temples like everywhere in Thailand, and there's even an old church. But what really made Trang special for us is its 70s style of the inner city. Houses and advertising signs often looked like being from old videos of Bangkok in the 70s. The old-fashioned frog-head Daihatsu midget tuk-tuks add to the charm, of course. So, thumbs up for Trang. After all that terribly hot city sightseeing, it was time again for a day at the beach, but not just any beach. We headed to Phuket-Penang Pier and wanted to board a speedboat to Koh Lipe in Sadao National Park. It's quite a long and unpleasant ride, 60 kilometers in about 2 hours. The return ticket is about $30. I could now show you these pictures and tell you that the water is crystal clear and the sand is white and smooth. And it would be totally correct. But there is also a dark side. The whole beach, and it's really the whole beach, is full of hundreds of parked long-tail boats, and 10% of them cause constant noise. So enjoy somehow swimming between them. And then there's the rubbish.
I have never ever seen any island that is more overrated than Koh Lipe. I mean, you think it's national park, you think it's the nicest island that you can imagine. It's quite expensive to get there, it's quite expensive to stay here, and it's really the dirtiest island in Thailand that I have ever seen.
So we went back to the mainland after one night on the island and finally headed to the Malaysian border. It was 75 kilometers from Phuket-Penang Pier to the border checkpoint at Wang Prachan. From there it was going to be another 210 kilometers to Penang, if we were allowed to cross the border. As it was already late in the afternoon, we decided to tackle the border not before next day in the morning and better took an early rest in an Airbnb in Sadao.
Today comes the really exciting part of our journey. So we are here at the border between Thailand and Malaysia, and it's the first border that we want to cross with our bands. I hope we manage that, because it's not so easy like just crossing a border somewhere in Europe. You need a lot of paperwork, and I am not absolutely sure if the papers that we have are correct, or if they want something else that maybe we don't have. So let's see what will happen.
We first went to a roadside shop directly in front of the border, where we could buy a 1-month insurance for 1,800 baht or $60 and handmade number plate stickers with Roman letters that the Malays can read. So, our new Malaysian number plates. By the way, the 2 Thai letters on the plate would be pronounced Korgor. It's the second and first letter in Thai alphabet, that's why they translated it to BA. It's not because it would sound like BA. Well, I wasn't allowed to film the process at the border, but finally the bands had Malaysian tarmac under the wheels.
Finally we have made it to Malaysia. We needed quite exactly 1.5 hours at the border, and it was a bit of waiting and a bit of discussion here and there, but finally it was not really any problem to enter the country. And all that was necessary, we had to prepare a translation of our Thai car book into English. And with this translation we could get the insurance papers for Malaysia, and we could get the number plate stickers which are necessary here in Malaysia, that they can read it. And more or less that's it. Then they had a short look at the car. They wanted to see if the brake lights work, if the VIN number is correct, and what else. They checked if the windows are not too much tinted, because the Thai windows usually are more or less completely black, but here in Malaysia they have restrictions. So that was a nice 350 set. But that's everything that was necessary.
Wait, stop, 2 more things. The Malaysians issued this international circulation permit, that's somehow the Malaysian registration for the car, and Thai customs provided this document here, which was supposed to be necessary for later re-entry of the car to Thailand.
Finally, we just had a little bit of a problem after the border, because they're about 1 kilometer after the border there's a checkpoint, and we nearly ran over the checkpoint, and The guys shouted, and it was a bit of a problem that we seemed to ignore them, but they wanted to check again the insurance papers, they wanted to check the car registration, and everything was fine and correct, and we had our immigration stamp in the passport, so we could pass. What are our first impressions in Malaysia? There are very different cars on the road. So in Thailand, every second car is a pickup truck, and here in Malaysia you have a lot of these small cars which you do not see in Thailand. It seems that 80% of them are Protons, and later I will film some of them just to show you. There are a lot of weird ones and a lot of quite old cars, means from the 80s, early 90s, as not nice and nice classic cars, but just weird and old cars.
Later I found out that not all cars are Proton, but there is a second Malaysian brand with a P logo called Pero Dua, something that I haven't heard of before, to be honest.
Another impression is that it seems that here the colors of the shops, of the signs, of the advertising signs, they are really very brown, beige, sand color, so it somehow lacks a little bit the bright colors that you see everywhere in Thailand. That's interesting difference. Maybe someone can explain why that is. Maybe that's just the fashion tradition here in Malaysia, or I don't know. First we will pass a town that's called Alor-Setar, I think, and there we will have a short look at the big mosque, which is famous, and then we head directly to Penang.
Instead of using the motorway, we preferred to drive on smaller country roads until we finally reached Penang Bridge, which connects the island of Penang with mainland Malaysia. This bridge is quite impressive, over 13 kilometers long, and we got nearly stuck in a toll booth. Because we didn't buy a prepaid toll card, which obviously would have been necessary. We were too blue-eyed and expected that there would surely be a human being that accepted cash. But that wasn't the case. So if you ever plan to go to Penang, here is my advice: buy a prepaid card for the tollway before trying to cross that bridge.
In 200 meters, slight left.
After 600 miles or 1000 kilometers, nearly 1 week on the road, we are now in Penang, Malaysia, and that's our apartment which we rent for a few days. It's in the 27th floor with really magnificent view over the island and the city of Georgetown. And Georgetown is a very interesting, beautiful city. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and I'm very excited now to explore the city and explore the whole island of Penang. Maybe I shouldn't forget the best feature of Malaysia, the gas price. Gasoline 95 was only 2.1 ringgit per liter. That's about 50 US cent or 16 Thai baht compared to 37 Thai baht or $1.20 in Thailand. Even for the US, less than $2 per gallon was probably a good deal. After 4 days in Penang, it was time to drive back to Thailand. We were going to use the border checkpoint in Sadao and then go to Hat Yai. The bands kept us busy with another minor melody. All of a sudden, we noticed water dropping from underneath the glove box. It was obviously condensated water from the aircon. A closer inspection revealed a leak in the collection tray of the aircon. Well, nothing that needed immediate repair. We were going to sort that back in Phuket. But this was fault number 3 for the records. Returning from Malaysia to Thailand didn't cause any hassle at the border. Nobody wanted to see any documents of the car. Hat Yai was quite an unremarkable city.
In 150 meters, turn left.
But one temple, Pramaha Chedi Tripop Trimongol, surely not correctly pronounced, this temple Chedi was built completely from stainless steel and that looked absolutely amazing.
So that's a really very interesting modern interpretation of a traditional Thai chedi.
From Hat Yai to our next destination in Songkhla, it was just a short 1-hour drive. Songkhla is an old city with lots of history, located on a peninsula between the Gulf of Thailand and Lake Songkhla. This giant serpent Naga sculpture guards the mouth of the lake. The historic city center looked a little bit like a small version of Georgetown, Penang. But here we spotted cooler cars than in Malaysia, like this Mazda Bongo van, this 70s milka colored Toyota Corolla E38 wagon, or this Toyota Crown S80. After city sightseeing onshore, we decided to explore Lake Songkhla offshore by a small longtail boat.
That's going to be a cruise now on Lake Songkhla, and yeah, it's a bit scary because the boat is so small and so much shaking.
It's a dramatic scenery of cargo vessels, fishing boats, navy ships and simple fishermen villages. This cruise was 800 baht or $27 for 2 hours on the water.
Now it's a biological experiment with this brackish water that I got in my mouth. What happens on the toilet tonight?
But the next day I could give the all clear. To continue our journey, we boarded a ferry to the other side of the lake. This was the cheapest ride ever for just 30 baht or $1. Debarked on the other side, we drove 200 km northwards from Songkhla to Nakhon Thammarat. This was really a nice yellow Toyota Corolla T40 from the 60s. The area between Songkhla and Nakhon Thammarat was very rural. Rice fields and sugar palms created a gorgeous landscape to cruise along on roads with little traffic.
Turn right, then turn left.
Nakhon Thammarat welcomed us with the sight of this bright orange fintail vans. Surely not an original color, but what an awesome match to our 280 Ti. This Datsun 620 truck also looked really cool. On our Benz, another part with flagging performance popped up, one of the rear window winders.
Here you can see our problem number 4 on the journey. This window winding mechanism is definitely broken and the window doesn't go up and down anymore. That wouldn't be the big problem if it would not slowly slide down while driving. I think as a short-term solution, the only thing we can do is to fix the window with some tape, and I hope that's then good enough for the rest of the journey.
Probably you've got bored with temples in this video already, so let me just mention with one sentence that Wat Prachan is one of the best and oldest in Thailand, and we were totally captivated by the more than 170 white chedis and especially by the decoration and sculptures inside the main chedi.
In 400 meters, turn left.
Well, the only stage left now was the way back from Nakhon Thammarat to Phuket via Phang province and its gorgeous limestone hill landscape. After 17 days and exactly 2041 kilometers, we arrived back home. Well guys, I think it was an epic journey, the first real big road trip with the Benz since I have bought it. If any one of you is maybe interested what kind of budget we needed for our 17 days or 16 nights and 2000 kilometers on the road, let me give you the fast statistics. So we paid about $35 US per night for our Airbnbs. That was a total of $570 US. The Benz needs about 14 liters per 100 kilometers on a trip like that, so we spent $300 US for the gas. The repairs and the insurance for Malaysia was another $100 US. Boats and ferries, again $100 US. And our budget for food and beverage per day is about $30 US. So that's another $500 US. We come to a total of $1,570 US for our whole journey. And that's then roughly $100 US per day. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please don't forget to hit the like button and please share your ideas of good destinations for possible future trips with my Benz anywhere in the world. I would be very curious to hear your ideas. See you next time.